you should know that by being a racing driver, you are under risk all the time. By being a racing driver means you are racing with other people. And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. Because we are competing to win. And the main motivation to all of us is to compete for a victory.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the world of RaceFace.Pro and welcome to the PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series Round 5 here at a beautiful, beautiful track. But joining me in the box is the beautiful, beautiful voice of the one, the only, Tristan Herbst. Tristan, welcome. And wow, Round 5, can you believe it?
Whole 3 races ahead of us to enjoy, Steven.
It's going to be a really wild one, that is for certain, and it's going to be great stuff. So Tristan Herbst currently on the mic, who's going to keep us busy with all that goes through. But Tristan, I've got to ask the very good question of what's to come. What's your thoughts on the racing, and who's going to be able to stand on top come the end of the race?
Well, I mean, it's going to be definitely going to be a close one again. We've seen some amazing competition across the rest of the races so far for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series. And talking about one of those competitors, Bernard Barkhuizen, currently on our front screens over here. Bernard Barkhuizen has been an absolutely amazing competitor so far, but so has the likes of Henry Mayer. So we've got 2 phenomenal drivers that have been putting immense amount of pressure on each other, who have got some phenomenal chances of winning that massive PokerBet prize pool amount at the end of the season, Steven. But we can't forget about those couple of other drivers. You know, we've got Bego Grobler up in 3rd place. He's been doing well so far. Gideon Renner's also had an absolutely amazing run so far this season. Daniel Rowe's been up there. Chris Stolt pulling an absolutely amazing performance last week at Paul Ricard that we saw from him up into 2nd place. So, man, I'm really not too sure what to expect from this race. You know, we've got loads and loads of people who have the potential to try and witness a podium today. But I think our main competitors are definitely going to be the ones that we've seen create that pattern across the past couple of races.
Now, it's going to be a wild one, but just take a look at the gap between Henry Mayer and Bernard Barkhuizen. This lap, Henry Mayer has not been up on his delta, so he's going to lose out a bit of time here. 0.002 right behind Bernard Barkhuizen's 143.295. I mean, that is incredibly close. But we've also got Bego Grobler 0.267 behind. So he's still hanging in the ropes. But now he's got Daniel Rowe backing him up. But also, take a look. Ryan Barrington-Smith up into 10th. Paul Fenter into 11th position. Werner Skuman not doing so bad in the Ford Mustang. He's a little bit up, but Kleinans up into 6th place is going to be a bit of a dark horse, I think, to keep an eye out for. And taking a look at our VIP grandstands, that PokerBet VIP grandstands, we've got Jarvis53 busy going and saying hello and tuning in, listening at the track. And I've got to say, absolutely incredible stuff to have our competitors out there, to have our spectators out there, but also to see the excitement coming through of what this championship is going to be like. Remember, just a reminder to everyone, with all 36 right down to Peter Meyer out on track, all these drivers are fighting for the prize pool. And this is just our pros having a good go with the pro-ams and ams all chucked into one server. Tomorrow night, going to have them all split. But tonight, they are fighting for 100,000 Rand. You heard me right. You can fall out of your chair. 100,000 Rand in cash and PokerBet. I mean, the credits. It's just incredible, incredible stuff. And a monster of a welcome to it. I've got to say, super excited. But we're down to the last 4 minutes of this race. It's going to be close. It's going to be fast. It's going to be exciting the whole way through.
Absolutely. I mean, and the nice thing about qualifying that we have seen throughout the previous rounds is that at the end of qualifying is where we see those true inner core potential of these drivers start to shine. You know, in those couple dying last 2 minutes. Oh, we've seen Mac van der Merwe trying to cut the track a bit there. In the final couple of minutes, these drivers go into the pit lane, put in a brand new fresh set of tires, and they're back out on the track to try and set one more banger of a lap. And that is usually where we see our top sitters getting those very unexpected times. We saw it last week at Paul Ricard with Chris Stoltz coming up into second randomly. You know, he's always been someone fighting up there, but he had an unlucky time before that. But talking about up there, Bernard Barkhuizen now betters his time, now almost 4/10 up from the likes of Henry Meyer. So absolutely incredible stuff from him. Great stuff from him to put himself up there, and you know, it's looking absolutely phenomenal from his side. He's pulling off now, so that's probably what we're going to start to see. You know, drivers are going to start pulling off. They're going to start to get back into those pits, get another fresh set of tires on, push one more time. We're going to see that by the likes of Henry Meyer. You know, he's going to want to especially try and push against Bernard Barkhuizen, who's already coming back out of the pit lane. So I mean, that's how competitive it is. So Henry Meyer still not being able to set that time on Bernard Barkhuizen, keeping around that track, continuously going around and around, trying to get comfortable, trying to get his bearings up a bit, and getting that McLaren up into where it should be. You know, we've seen Henry Meyer having a phenomenal run across the start of the season. You know, he was a dominating figure among the first couple of rounds. You know, we saw it at Laguna, Monza, and Zandvoort, you know, absolutely wiping it out the park. And thankfully, we saw it at Paul Ricard, where Bernard Barkhuizen actually broke that streak and finally took pole away from Henry Meyer. So back on, yeah, go for it.
I've got a point on that. We had a chat to him, and I got to ask him on the Thursday, does he feel like he's got a bit of a problem now that the grid's starting to catch up, that they're starting to become a more viable threat? His answer was it wasn't his best circuit, so he's fine. He's not too worried about it, but I'm just taking a look at the times here. Bernard Barkhuizen got a 142.9, Henry Meyer 143.2, Daniel Rowe 143.3, and then Bego Krobler 143.5, 43.7 for Gideon Reina, Werner Skuman at 43.8, 4.7, Johan Kleinhunter 143.877, Fleming Bauer with a 43.9. I mean, nearly our top 10 all sitting in the 43s, and even going further down, 44s, 45s. We are going to have drivers on top of one another. The only driver that has not set a time is this car here. Peter Meyer is the one that needs to set a time on the board, but even Dean DePries has got himself up into the running. It did a 147.6. Davy Dreyer, though, managing to get a 146.7. Jaco Krobler, a 146.6. He's actually been trying out new single-seaters, so he's trying to get into the whole world of mixing up with different sims. Henry Platz, also a driver, keep an eye out. Very, how can I say, he's the hero we all need and deserve, because he got to push his teammates across the line that ran out of fuel. I will not let Hansi live that one down, because Hansi Myberg ran out of fuel by 1.1 of a liter, and he had to ask his teammate to sacrifice himself to be across that line. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to all turn out, but this is how the edges are being pushed, how the guys are trying to make that a little bit more up. Chris Stolz, though, 5th place in the Mustang. Absolutely phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, and we've seen it from Chris Stolz, like we mentioned at Paul Ricard. His performance is slowly but surely starting to get better now. He's starting to contest in those top 5s, regardless of top 5, actually top 3 fights. We saw that last week at Paul Ricard, him fighting very hard with the other top couple of runners, fighting constantly up until the end of the line. That was an absolutely incredible fight to watch. Me and Steven were both biting our fingernails off at that race. So hopefully wanting to see the same thing here at the Hungaroring, some very good potential fighting. We know that Hungaroring is not a great track for overtaking. We've got very few spots here at the Hungaroring where overtaking is made easy, namely the straight you're seeing right now. The main straight coming across the pit lane is one of the only places that is very easy to make an overtake up on the inside, and still you don't have that much straight to actually make that move. So drivers are going to have to really try and strategize, plant their car carefully, and from what we're seeing on qualifying now, this is going to really position certain drivers in a good place to get them running for the rest of the race. So if you're starting further down in the pack, you are really going to struggle to try and fight somewhere up in the podium positions there, Steven.
It's going to be a difficult one indeed. Our top three have crossed the line. Bernard Barkhuizen, Henry Mayer, Daniel Rowe. Crystals are still out on lap. Bego Krobler will not be able to get a lap in. Gideon Rayner going and stretching his legs a little bit more, so he's trying to improve his lap times. This is going to be a wild one. Werner Skuman, Johan Kleinans, Fleming Bauer still out on track. Ryan Barrington-Smith down in the 11th position, trying to move his way up through the battle, so he's going to really have to dig deep on this one if he wants to get that climb. Ruan Kleinen, so a little bit further down in 18th. Then we have got Reginald Mutuleni still out on track. That looked to be Ryan Barrington-Smith, who came off circuit. So unfortunately, he looks like he's having a bit of a tough time out there. But let's see if Gideon Rayner gets it into 4th place. So he's going to be backing up his teammate Bernard Barkhuizen and puts himself squarely into the mix. Crystals, though, looking to get into that top 4. He's just out of it. Needs to run out a little bit wide, getting on the power, standing on the gas, twists the car in, really giving it everything she's got on the way through. A little bit of a tank slapper on the exit as he gets early on the power. Does he able to jump it out of 5th place? No, not this time.
Man, that's so unfortunate. I mean, Chris Stoltz thankfully still being able to plant that Mustang up into top 5. Actually, the only Mustang up into top 5. He's got some brothers down there in 7th and 8th. The likes of Vanus Kuman and Jehan Kleinans also in the Mustangs. But absolutely phenomenal qualifying session there, Steven. We had some great runners there. But we did see the usual guys, constantly taking the pace and bringing up in 1st place. Bernard Barkhuizen sitting comfortably in 1st, but still followed by his rival just behind him in 2nd place. Henry May is going to be looking up on the inside of the 1st corner to try and make that position against Bernard Barkhuizen and potentially try and slip through to try and make it an easy one. Then he's also got his teammate, Bernard Barkhuizen has his teammate Gideon Rayner, like we mentioned, in 4th. So good team plays that can happen here, Steven. We might see quite some interesting races coming, especially into turn 1. But let's take it down to the grid shortly, and we'll see what happens there.
Well, let's go and have a quick break, a quick intermission, and we will be back with the grid. All right, and we are down to the grid. But taking a look, it is a bit wet out there. I'm putting my hand out of the box. Tristan, this is looking a little bit hair-raising, if I say so myself.
Well, man, I wanted to get some water, but I'm actually feeling it all over my hands here. This is crazy. We're seeing rain here at Hungaroring, so that's going to make it a very interesting race. We've got 45 minutes on the sprint, but that's 45 minutes of a little bit more chaos added to the mix here, Steven.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a wild one for our drivers, but thankfully they've got a full lap to get it all sorted out. That being said, let's take a look quick, because PokerBet has got you covered. If you correctly predict the final league standings of the SA and English leagues, you stand a chance of winning your share of 3 million rand with PokerBet Premier Predictor. So that is one to keep an eye out for all you hungry goers looking to challenge yourself, much like all our fantastic drivers that are geared up, ready to go for this race. But that being said, let's run through the order, because there is a lot of cars on a small track with some very, very treacherous conditions.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got 5 seconds left now until the session starts. That formation lap is going to be something that the drivers are going to be absolutely valuing now, actually, with this rain. they are going to need to get at the most amount of pressure into those tires before the start of the race. We're going to be doing a lot of brake drag. Yes, I remember the term. Let's go. Brake drag is going to happen a lot of here, trying to get that warm air temperature from those brakes up into the tires to get them heated up before the start of the race. Because of the rain, we're going to see a lot more slippery surface here at Hungaroring, so drivers are going to need that grip from those tires provided on the GT3s to try and keep their cars under control. Otherwise, we're going to be witnessing some slip-arounds and potential damage and DNF. So I'm predicting we're going to see a little bit more incidents, unfortunately, at today's race. It does, unfortunately, it's one of the burdens that are carried with the rain. Some drivers just unfortunately not being able to predict what the GT3's rear end is going to give it to them. And unfortunately, sometimes you do see some drivers planting their car on the walls, planting it into each other, or unfortunately just losing control. So definitely something to keep an eye out. If you see your favorite driver dropping down, that is unfortunately due to the rain from the sky above. So we'll have to monitor that and see where it goes.
Well, taking a look, Bernard Barkhuizen, Henry Meyer, Daniel Rowe, Gideon Renner, Chris Stalls, Beggar Krobler, Werner Skuman, Johan Kleinans, Fleming Bauer, Jude Neville. Rounding out your top 10, Ryan Barrington Smith in the 11th, followed by Daniel de Villiers, Beatia Burta, Dean Nokia, Gerrit Bukers, along with Jean Leroux, Paul Venter, Gerry van Zeel, Ruan Kleinans, Mac van der Merwe, Ron van der Walt, and then we have got Chris Collison. There we go. I nearly said collision once again. He's had a few collisions this season, but he's still alive and going. Tienes Burta in 23rd, followed by Hansin Myberg, Ryan Free, along with Reginald Mutaleni, Jody Seidman, Bradley Surley, Jean Mossad, Mustafa Norden, Henry Platz, Davi Dreyer, Jaco Krobler, Altman Burta, and Dean DePries, and finally going and rounding out with Peter Meyer lying in that 36th spot. So a couple of drivers to keep an eye out for. Our top runners are definitely going to be the ones who keep an eye out for. Nerves of steel is needed for this, as it's going to be a bit of a wild one. Take a look, Anishka Burta, she's going to be supporting Vietia Burta and all of the team. We have also got Hilton Nixon going and saying, how's it? So he's going to be cheering on from the stands here at the PokerBet VIP stands at the circuit. It's absolutely tremendous stuff to see the virtual grandstands coming alive. But, oh, I've got to say, I'm super excited with this. Bernard Barkhuizen, Henry Meyer, championship rivals, looking to do battle. Daniel Rowe looking to put his nose squarely into the middle of it with crystals around him. And Gideon Renner getting involved into the fight. He's looking to try and push himself towards the top. Gideon Renner's making up a lot of time. We've seen him do some crazy stuff to get himself towards the top. Will he be able to do it in these tricky conditions? It's a bit greasy out there. It's not really wet. So this is going to change things. We wait for the rooster tails. So we're on a bit of a sticky playing field of whether you're on slicks or wets. I think majority have gone wets at the moment. But with 45 minutes, are you going to be able to punch your way through? Bernard Barkhuizen getting the jump for round 5 with Henry Meyer stuck on the outside. It's going to be heartbreaking into turn 1. Everyone trying to scatter for that inside line. And it looks like Crystal's late dive on Gideon Renner. Daniel Rowe holding back, seeing the battle going on. Oh, a bit of sideways action. Henry Meyer dropping down into second place. He tried his luck, and Daniel Rowe getting the better drive. Gives him a sneaky little under nudge there and says, listen, you got to mind out the way. But instantly regrets it under braking, as now Henry Meyer all over the back of him and gets past. So Daniel Rowe had nothing but just to back out there, but now that has fed him into the likes of Crystals, who's coming back at him at a rate of knots. But we've got our first drive-through penalty, Henry Plutt, and that will be for jumping up the order. So that is definitely not going to be a smiling moment for him. So as our drivers make their way through, two teammates only in 4th and 5th place are the closest to one another.
Yeah, man. I mean, that start was absolutely incredible. You know, I was biting my fingers a little bit there. That start was looking a little bit sketchy. We had a massive Constantino effect into turn 1. You were focusing on the front guys. Yeah, I was just looking back to try and see what was going on in the backpack. I saw quite a lot of contact happening, unfortunately. Some drivers not getting on the brakes in time and giving the front guy a little bit of a nudge to let him know, hey, there's a little bit of a pack going on behind you here, and it's going to be like that for the rest of the rain.
Let's take a look at the start. This is with Gideon Renner, who is part of just jostling around, looking for where he's going to go. And we can see from the helicam, oh, one of the Pandassi cars came in like an absolute wild train into the back of Ryan Bennington-Smith. And there is the carnage. Unfortunately, Gideon Reina was part of that little bit of carnage. Under braking, the car snapping out underneath him. You could see everyone bouncing around from one another. There's not many places to go when you're going 4 wide into turn 1.
No, definitely not. And, you know, it's so unfortunate, man. You know, the team strat could have really be played here for the likes of Henry Mayer, but he's unfortunately lost his teammate. Fleming Bauer was the main person involved in that incident. We saw him backwards, actually, there in the replay. So he has fallen very far off down the pack, unfortunately, losing out on any form of chance of even a top 15 finish. But back up to the top now. So Bernard Barkhuizen still keeping it very strong stride up in front. Henry Mayer fighting off Daniel Rowe, we saw at the front over there, and that fighting is not going to stop. Daniel Rowe putting a lot of pressure on him behind, but Chris Stoltz is also not going to let go behind him. We unfortunately saw the likes of Gideon Reina dropping very far off, currently in pit lane, actually in 21st position. Obviously a little bit too much damage from that first turn incident, and that is a really unfortunate thing to see. Back on board now with Werner Skuman, who is putting an immense amount of pressure on the torpedo Daniel de Villiers here in the PWSR Lamborghini Evo 2. And he's also had an absolutely phenomenal season so far, keeping that car quite consistent. But he's also had his majority of fights, and now he's entered into another one. You know, we've got the likes of Werner Skuman behind him, putting a lot of pressure on him, you know, not making it easy. And he's not going to continue making it easy. He's got the likes of Mac van der Merwe following up behind him. Mac's also got the likes of Gerrit Bukes. We saw him doing some incredible work in the Pro-Am division last week. And Ryan Bennington-Smith following up behind them. It's a nice train starting to be developed there. Ryan Bennington-Smith, a bit of a gap to him and Jean Leroux behind. Not too much of a gap, and then Jean Leroux, obviously, with Ron van der Vault following a little bit behind, a little bit of a trade line. There we see Ron Kleinhans, Indy Martian Racing, still nicely in top 15. Chris Collison following nicely up in the top 15 as well. Reginald Mittelania, great start from him up into 16th place. Harry van Zel following him in 17th. Then we got Bego Krubler, who seemed to have a bit of an unfortunate start, actually, now trailing behind the BMW of Harry van Zyl.
Not for long. Harry got an absolutely terrible exit, going and having the car snap out underneath him, and there's a fire-breathing Aston Martin saying, thank you very much, goodbye. Harry tried going for the undercut, but you just can't get on the throttle as hard as you need it to be. But I'm seeing yellow flags for the 526 car, and that is quite unfortunate. That is Hansi Myberg coming very slowly out of the pits. And Hansi just letting everything go. So he was involved in that earlier incident. And just, well, doing a safety barrier check, I would say, at that point. He's really having to just keep it all together there. Bego Krobler feeling the pressure from Van Zyl constantly onto the back of him. And then further up, though, build up of a nice little train. Bukes, Ryan Barrington-Smith, and Jean Leroux all over the tail of one another. But that rain is coming down hard. And the track is 35 degrees, might I add. So that is a extremely warm circuit with treacherous conditions, which seem to be playing in favor of your front-engine cars, like Werner Skuman onto the back of Daniel de Villiers.
I'm actually not surprised the drivers aren't seeing steam in front of them. I would think that kind of pressure and that kind of heat on the track, you know, those water droplets would just evaporate as soon as they touch. That is an extremely hot surface for a rainy day here at Hungaroring, 35 degrees Celsius. And like you mentioned, Stephen, that is going to play a nice beneficial role. Let's flash back here.
This is Fleming Bauer. This was Fleming Bauer. We saw that yellow flags kick up for him. But what on earth happened to Fleming Bauer? Ran off wide. Oh, tail snapped out and into the wall.
And that's exactly what I spoke about in the formation lab. Drivers just not able to control the rear end of that car in the rain. It's a completely different beast when you add a bit of water.
Another one, Jude Neville onto the back of Tienes Buerta. The Ferrari of Jude Neville trying to push a little bit harder. Catches up to the Audi. Tienes Buerta just ahead. Trying to get past. Trying to make it 3 wide. Not going to work out. Onto the rumble strips and get twisted around. Jude Neville just minding out of the way. Trying to get going. But Tienes Buerta, sure, was saying some very colourful words right there. But with that being said, Tristan, we do have a couple of things that we've got to announce because PokerBet just sent me a good couple of very interesting things for our VIP grandstands that you guys can be part of. So
that's an awesome thing, eh?
Yeah, well, let's go through it. Other than you can win your share of 3 million rand, as we saw a little bit earlier, 100% sports deposit match become a welcome bonus up to 2,000 rand for new sign-ups on top of part of the Mohala Madness promotion that can now also get an extra 50 rand free bet by using the promo code 50 rand Mohala. And that is 50 rand Mohala. It's R50 Mohala. Once they've made a minimum first deposit of 50 rand. So win big there and get to have a bit of fun. Much like the Big Mac getting, unfortunately, having a chomp taken out of him as Ryan Barrington-Smith is going in having a good go up on the inside. That's dropped him into the clutches of Gerrit Bukes. But Werner Skuman is also trying to catch up onto De Villiers. I'm starting to see a line forming out there. It's not a very wet line. I'm starting to see more of a dry line. Am I seeing things here?
No, I think that you're definitely correct. I'm also seeing some form of a dry line being developed here. I think some of those wet tire runners will be using those off lines to try and cool those tires. But I think that dry line, the reason why it's not looking too much like a mix of a dry and a wet line is because of that track temperature that we actually spoke about. You know, that track, even though it's getting rained on, it's still extremely hot. So that dry line is very evident, and you know, it's allowing some of those dry tire runners to keep a very nice speed in this rain over here. I don't even know if we have any dry tire runners still, if anyone has you know, changed over to the wets yet. But so far, everyone's still running pretty great. You know, we've seen a couple of unfortunate incidents so far, and as you can see it actually coming out of that little chicane, drivers are whipping.
Number 50. This is one of your drivers, Kirion Reina, having a bit of a problem. You're talking about the whip round. I think he just experienced it. Yeah.
Oh, and that's the wet curb for you, unfortunately. He manages to actually save it and then loses it again.
So close.
So unfortunate,
and then into
man.
the wall.
Man,
ouch,
that's unfortunate.
Ouch. But we do see a accident form up for Chris. And this was between Chris and Bago Krobler. So Chris trying to defend against the attacking Bago Krobler. That is right behind him. Bago going for a late lunge. Looks for the inside. Goes out a little bit wide. And unfortunately, very difficult to run to there. And that landed up with the number 77 of Reginald Mutaleni going into the door as well. So a little bit of a breakout towards our top running order. But let's go through the pack order at the moment, because it is a properly interesting conditions that doesn't favor a wet setup and it doesn't favor a dry setup. So it's going to be an interesting one. Bernard Barkhuizen at the top of the charts, with Henry Mayer in second place with the fastest lap time of the race. Daniel Rowe in third. Chris Stolz in fourth, followed by Johan Kleinans, Dean Nokia, Daniel the Hitman de Villiers, with Werner Skuman immediately on to the back of him in eighth. Ryan Barrington-Smith in ninth. 10th position, Mac van der Merwe. Gerrit Bukes running in 11th. 12th, Jean Leroux. Rowan van der Walt. Rowan Kleinans in 14th. 15th is Chris Holosun, along with Reginald Mutaleni, Bradley Surley, Bago Krobler, Ryan Ferree, Jaco Krobler, Jean Massart, Jude Neville running in 22nd, 23rd, Tianis Buerta, followed by Davy Draver, Dean Dupreez, Henry Platt, Mustafa Nordin, Kirion Reina down in 28th. 29th is Paul Fenter. But take a look, Ultimate Buerta with a stop-go 30-second penalty that's needing to be done. That big Bentley, not going to be a happy camper there. Then a little bit further down, we have got likes of Harry van Zale, who is in 31st. 32nd, Hansi Myberg, who's still making his time. And Vietia Buerta, stop-go 30-second penalty. And it looks like he is in the pits big time. I think maybe frustration kicking in, and drivers needing to cool down before they get back out onto the track. Well, we would love to see them get back out on the track.
Absolutely, you know, that's the main thing about racing. Finishing good is definitely one thing, but there's not a point of getting in this car, putting in all that practice, all that time, you know, on the rig to try and set a fast time, if you're not even going to cross the checkered line with all your other drivers here at RaceFace. I mean, what's the point in that, Stephen? You know, what is the point of doing all the practice and buying the whole rig if you're not even going to cross the line? That's the biggest thing, just finishing the race. Oh, and that's contact right in front of us, unfortunately. Daniel de Villiers receiving a little bit of a bump from Werner Skuman. They're coming out of turn one, so a little bit of fighting going on between the two. Werner Skuman just looking a little bit too deep up on the inside, and Daniel de Villiers looks like he closed the gap on him, unfortunately. and that resulted in contact. Here we go. We're watching the replay. On board, here comes up on the inside, I believe. No, so Daniel de Villiers dives up on the inside.
Tried
Van der
doing a bit
Schoeman
of
on
a
the outside. A bit of a switcheroo. Oh, and it's a tap from Van der Schoeman, unfortunately. So, bit of a, I would say that's driver error from Schoeman's side, unfortunately tapping the back of Daniel de Villiers. But that is unfortunately racing, especially here in the rain.
Yeah, that's unfortunately drops you back. The winning order on that one has to go to Ryan Barrington-Smith, who scored 2 positions on his run, but Daniel de Villiers down the order as he fights back against Ruan van der Walt, lying in 13th place, Ruan in 12th, going to be defending like no tomorrow at this point, and Ruan, who is just going to hang in for every little battle. Then we got Jean Leroux, Gerrit Bukes, and Mac van der Merwe now getting a little bit unsteady, going at and swapping around. Immediately has Bukes up on the inside, tries to go for the pass, and it's slide around, nowhere to go, and
that's massive.
I wonder if he got pincered. I wonder if that was a bit of a pincer maneuver that unfortunately happened. You're running far too close with your fellow drivers. So we're taking a look with Tim in the heli as he's making his way around the track. Mac van der Merwe, poor exit as expected, comes across the nose. Gerrit trying to look up that inside, has his nose cut off. Jean Leroux in the rear, and that was just enough to unsettle the Ferrari. Just that slight nudge just off track onto the rumble strips is enough to just tip that nose in, and looks like one of the cars being repaired. That was Gerrit. Mac van der Merwe, though, feeling the pressure. Jean Leroux up on the inside, trying to do a bit of a send the Porsche, getting happy and snappy on the way through, but managing to hold it. Old Big Mac is doing everything he can at this point, but take a look at Van der Walt and de Villiers right behind as well, as de Villiers got a huge send up on the inside, gets it hooked in, and gets the pass done. And that has... That's Kleinunts into the wall. Rowan Kleinunts had these tails snap out while keeping an eye on everyone, and unfortunately that stuck him into the wall. Big Mac has fallen off. Back van der Merwe now losing out that time. Will immediately have Jean Leroux capitalizing, getting past him, and Mac van der Merwe having to try and defend against Daniel de Villiers, who is on a mission to try and get back up through the order, who is pushing as hard as he can, looking left, looking right, ducking, diving, hoping, wishing, willing. What else can we add into there? Throwing down all the cards, rolling the dice, hoping he doesn't get the snake eyes, going for the full house. I don't know what it can be at this point. He's going for everything.
Those past couple of laps that we just watched have been the most amount of action that we've seen in the whole race. How crazy was that? We saw 2 incidents on live. And I mean, someone from even the virtual grandstand is saying it. The curb is deadly in the wet. Absolutely 100%. The curbs are a nightmare here in the wet at any track, actually. But here at Hungaroring, it is claiming victims left, right, and center. As soon as any of those tires make contact with that curb, we saw it with Gideon Reina even, that car's gone. You know, you lose full control. We almost see contact again there from Daniel de Villiers and the likes of Ron van der Walt behind him. Ron van der Walt dropping a little bit back off now after that turn 1, and now back onto the rear end of the Big Mac van der Merwe. And man, this has been some absolutely incredible racing so far, but I feel like this is going to continue happening throughout the whole night. This rain does not look like it's going away, and the drivers are still continuing to push the ever-living last breath out of those cars. And that's the main cause for all of these incidents, you know. And we see Mac van der Merwe losing it a little bit on the exit of that fast left-hander chicane, and now unfortunately losing that position to Daniel de Villiers. But he's been struggling for the past couple of laps in that Porsche, and we know the Porsche is not that good in the rain. It really does struggle to keep that grip, and we're watching him as he even goes through the chicane over there. Mac van der Merwe just losing all forms of grip on that Porsche, rear end and front end. It's absolutely crazy.
It's just snaking around him at the moment, but it's turning into a good race nonetheless. But take a look a little bit further back. Jean Mazart having a great time out there, the Tire Troopers. And we don't get to talk much about Jean and what his racing has been like. He's racing against Tiernas Buerta, a veteran in the world of sim racing, in GT3s, in the world of RaceFace.Pro. Right here for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series. And I've got to say, 100,000 Rand on the cards has brought out some hidden talent with a lot of our drivers. Yes, we always talk about our pro drivers, the guys right at the top, you know, your fastest of the fast. But you got to give a bit of a shout out to the drivers that are a little bit further down the order. These guys are absolutely wearing their heart on their sleeves as they go and make their way around. Tienes Puerta up on the inside, tries to get the pass done. Jean Mazart immediately coming back at him. Gideon Reyna, though, does get a drive-through penalty. That is for track cuts. That is not going to help his race, and I'm sure frustration starting to build up. Is saying, what do I need to do from start to finish? There's not much time left. There's 27 minutes to go of this race, and it's just all or nothing for a lot of these drivers.
Absolutely, you know, and it's just getting more and more unbearable for some of these drivers. As you mentioned, Gideon Reyna now getting the drive-through penalty. He's really struggling to keep that Ferrari in check. And, you know, losing that rear end has forced the car to go out wide and get a bit of a track limits penalty. So super unfortunate to him, but I don't think he's going to be the last tonight, Steven. We're going to see it more and more. And on board still with John Mostert, he's got the likes of Tienes Puerta still following very closely behind him. And these two have been fighting.
Yellow flags for the
33.
Yeah,
that's Garrett Bukes.
What happened to Garrett Bukes? Sorry to jump in there. It was a little bit of a weird one to see yellow flags coming out for him. Been keeping it consistent. Oh, just straight on.
Okay. Just deciding he didn't have the momentum to take the corner and pulling the car into a safer spot, but he's stopped on track right now. Has he started moving, or is he resorted? He's towed.
Got towed. So something has gone on with that car. Mechanical failure kicking in, and unfortunately that has dropped him out of it. Tienes Puerta up on the inside. Oh, a little bit of door-to-door contact, and the Audi just going and muscling his way through. If this was a UFC fight, you are definitely watching Drickus du Plessis having a good go here, because that was just take it to the chin and go. That is for certain.
Absolutely. You know, John Mostert is really also not giving an easy race, but let's flash back up. Reginald Mitteleni has had an absolutely phenomenal race still. He's had a couple of bumps. We saw him earlier in the contact zone with someone else, and you know, now actually on the back of that looks like the likes of Bego Krublo, who's just overtaken him. And, you know, he's still having an incredibly good fight. The likes of Chris Collison up ahead of them. He's in also quite a big train with a couple of other drivers. Ron van der Walt a little bit ahead in front of him, and then Mac van der Merwe a little bit further up ahead. Mac van der Merwe is got the likes of Gideon Reyna in front of him as a back marker, though. That's super unfortunate. Gideon Reyna just not getting lucky at all. And now he's been lapped. He's about to be lapped by his own teammate in the Nitro team. And that is super unfortunate. But Daniel De Villiers also still running nicely, rounding off the top 10 here in the Lamborghini, flashing upwards towards Jean Leroux in 9th place, also still giving a phenomenal fight. Vanna Skuman keeping it nice and clean in that Mustang, trying to fight off Ryan Barrington-Smith in front in that Aston Martin, and he's had an absolutely good running this season, keeping that car very consistent. Dean Nakia in the hybrid racing BMW, also a phenomenal season from him. He's had his ups and downs.
Mac van der Merwe, drive-through penalty. Oh man, that is, well, if that's ordering a cheeseburger, he's definitely a kiddie special right now. That is for certain.
That is real unfortunate. So Mac van der Merwe getting the drive-through penalty. So, I mean, I was right. Gideon Reyna not the last person, but unfortunately, his teammate receiving it next. The drive-through for Mac van der Merwe, obviously again for track limits. So super unfortunate.
I want to see if we could go back a little bit and see where it actually happened.
Slide.
So, must have been on the exit.
That was weird. It didn't even look like he gained time there.
The only thing I could think of was a little bit further back when he was trying to make his way around. He got caught out by jumping the chicane, just putting a wheel wrong, taking a little bit too much of the chicane. So only way that I can think about it. But down into 17th position on his exit is definitely not helping him out in that fight. But while we got all that craziness happening, let's quickly take a look, because PokerBet's got you covered with your chance to win 3 million rand. But let's let you know what they've also sent here, Tristan, because I can hear that you're getting ready to type and join in the party. Because Mahala Madness promo here with PokerBet, all new signups will also get entries into the 3 1,000 rand guaranteed poker tournaments until the end of September. Guaranteed 3 of the 1,000 Rand prizes. I mean, that is just incredible stuff to have it. And after a prolonged break, we're enthusiastic to be back with our latest installment of the South African online poker series, taking place on the 28th of August to the 1st of September. Over and above the 3 million Rand in prize money, we're guaranteeing across 6 events. We're also awarding the overall series winner with our first Vegas package for 2025. So while we're talking about competitions, there is a monster competition with that. And much like our drivers fighting for the 100,000 Rand prize pool in cash and PokerBet credits right here at RaceFace.Pro for the GT3 Sprint Series powered by PokerBet, we're getting to see those that are really good in terms of poker. I've got to say, I'm not the best at it, but hearing that, maybe I should watch a few YouTube videos. I don't know. Tristan, what do you think? Because I think the one that's playing his cards here is Henry Mayer onto the back of Bernard Barkhuizen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to agree with you. I'm also terrible at poker, but we're here for racing, which is a good thing. That's what we're good at. We're good at watching these guys compete up in the top 2 over here. So Bernard Barkhuizen has now got the likes of Henry Mayer behind him, who started to put a little bit more pressure on him. So Bernard Barkhuizen slowly starting to struggle in that car. We're just, I'd say, I don't think I can math that quickly on the spot. We're just about halfway now of this race. 45 minutes, yeah, so just about halfway now. Bernard Barkhuizen is slowly starting to feel the effects of that McLaren and the tires draining that much. You can see Henry Mayer is doing everything he can, though, to get that McLaren up into first place. He's sliding everywhere, and so is Bernard Barkhuizen. You know, these guys are pushing it.
Penalty.
And there we go, another victim claimed by the track limits. So Werner Skuman has now become the 3rd driver that we've witnessed on screen to get that drive-through penalty. So once more, the track of Hungaroring in the wet has claimed another. But as we flash back to the top here, Henry Mayer now looking at that rear omnius bumper of Bernard Barkhuizen. That Martian Racing is going to be pushing very hard in that McLaren. You can see him looking very close up the inside and then swiveling a little bit out. So he's coming in for deep dives to try and get very close and intimidating in the rearview mirror there of Bernard Barkhuizen. But this is going to be an absolutely amazing run here for the top 2. These guys have been fighting the whole season. They're going to continue fighting for the remainder of the 3 rounds after Hungaroring. And boy, every one of the virtual grandstand has got to keep their eyes on these 2 because they are so fast and they are so professional that these guys will just pace around everything.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the liveries coming in where the guys are starting to add trophies on the back of their rear wings just before the shot of, hey, look, I've managed to one-up one another. Try and play the head games when they start re-watching the races going forward. Maybe, I've got a question. Tristan, are we expecting to see, like, Big Macs on Mac van der Merwe's car? Possibly?
I mean, we can talk to him and try and get a Big Mac on the back. I don't know if he likes being called Big Mac, but I don't mind putting a Big Mac on the back of that Porsche. And I mean, I don't think it would spoil it too much, you know?
You know, everyone's got to enjoy themselves just a tad. But one person that's not enjoying himself, Henry Mayer. Tank slapper, left, right, and center. Not happy with the car there and had to really pull it back. Let's go back 30 seconds and just go and take a look from the helmet and see how he was cross-arming as he went over the curb. Looked like he started heading towards puddles, getting a little bit uncertain. You can see the rooster tail starting to kick off the back of the cars. So it's getting very wet out there, very cold on the tires. Left, right, left. Oh, man, just snapping around. And he's managing to hold it. The amount of times we've seen drivers have that very same problem and they land up squaring into the wall. It just shows these drivers are pushing the edge, and just the car control coming in. He's right onto the back of Bernard Barkhuizen yet again.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely incredible save there from Henry Mayer. I wouldn't say... Oh, going wide again, actually. So he's losing a lot of control with that McLaren, but he's still managing to keep.
Track limits. He's still keeping pace with Bernard Barkhuizen despite dropping off track. If he gets track limits here, this is going to hurt his positioning. So he cannot afford it as he gets caught up behind one of the Pandacity cars just going through. That was Davy Dreyer, who didn't want to get too involved in the fight here. But Henry Mayer, I'm sure, is flirting with luck at the moment, is busy going and whispering sweet music to the likes of our steward, saying, listen, don't look at where the wheel placement is. Let's look a bit further down the road. There's lots going on. But I do see accidents starting to kick up for the 99 and the 77. Reginald Mutileni and Ruan van der Vault side by side. Van der Vault's got some monster damage to the front of his BM. Reginald Mutileni, though, around the outside, trying to give it everything he can. Oh, no. Oh, both of them going straight.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
I do want to give it up for both drivers. Reginald Mutileni straightened his steering out to try and avoid getting the collision. So the understeer is what got Van der Vault into the side of him. But Reginald steered straight. He watched his mirrors. He knew there was a problem and said, hang on, I'm going to put this car straight and I'm just going to let it go here. And I only risked a little bit of a ding on the door, so that has definitely helped him. But Bernard Barkhuizen breaking away from Henry Mayer. Now gone to about a second, but they're starting to catch up through these back markers. And I think the stress starting to kick in of whether they're going to be able to push themselves out a little bit more. Another battle forming behind Johan Kleinans and Dean Nokia. Two drivers we don't expect to see at the top. And Dean Nokia going and transitioning this season from Gran Turismo. Yes, you heard me right. Gran Turismo on PlayStation. Over to the world of Assetto Corsa Competizione on PC. So that is a monster transition. That is literally going from your VW Beetle and jumping into a VW Sirocco. Huge, huge, huge. I mean, this is properly good running. Jean Leroux having a good fight with Daniel de Villiers right onto the back of him. And they are properly giving it hordes. Daniel de Villiers is on a mission here to try and get past Jean Leroux on the way through. And I mean, this is a battle for 8th and 9th. We have got fights broken up with some in a little bit of no man's land, like Ryan Barrington-Smith, Daniel Rowe, Chris Stoltz. They a little bit of no man's land compared to their competitors that are around them. A couple of drivers unable to get their cars out. I'm going to call them out, though, because I see Gerrit Bukes and Viertia Buerta sitting in the pits. Anushka Buerta is currently sitting in the VIP stand. So, Anushka, I know you can go and walk up and give him a clout on the head and tell him to get back out in that car. So, Anushka, this is a call out to Viertia Buerta. He needs to get back in, score some of the points for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series. Otherwise, I mean, you can't. You have to come across the line. Bukes will have to also get that car out there. I want to see the drivers that started this race get back out on the track. Yes, you're going to be laps down, but all that effort, all that work, go for it. And I think there's not going to be caught out there. Viertia, busy shaking his head, but I think he needs to.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are looking and saying, "Come on, buddy, get going." And well, you don't want to go and let the haters hate, and you don't want to let the fans down at that point. You want to get back out there, I would say. But Reginald Mutileni going in for his stream. He is onto the back of Chris, pushing as hard as he can. But I have noticed Henry Mayer has tapered off on his top end. He is actually a bit slower now, not going and pushing as hard as he once was onto the back of Bernard Barkhuizen.
No, absolutely, and that's going to be that constant switching around the entire rest of the race. But I think when you were talking about those sweet whispers that Henry was giving to the stewards, I think it was actually you, Stephen, whispering to Henry Mayer about those track limits, because we've seen him slowly start to drop off a little bit, maintaining that car. Overtake right in front of our eyes. Henry Platt diving up on the inside.
It's right in front of the leaders. Henry Platt going for it on Jean Lazart, and now has the leaders all over him. So he does move out of the way. So does Jean, both hitting the anchors. I've got to give it up for our blue flags, but that's just allowed Henry Mayer to try take a dive. He landed up getting thrown into the dirt, and now you can see they returning to their fight. But bravo to the two of them. But what that has done has it has brought Henry Mayer back into the fray with Bernard Barkhuizen with 13 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Jean Massot in that got a drive-through penalty as well.
Man, that is so unfortunate, but I think there might be some form of drive-through coming Henry's way. We saw him go swinging very wide again out of that second or third corner over there. Again, swinging a little bit wide and contesting the stewards over there with those external track limits. So, I don't know, Stephen. I think we might, unfortunately, if he continues to drive as reckless as he is right now, trying to push up and take that position from Bernard Barkhuizen. Because, I mean, as you mentioned, we've only got 13 minutes left in this race. So he's really trying to push that McLaren to its very, very final limit. And he's going to do everything that he can to get that position. But if he gets a drive-through, his race is over. He's going to completely ruin it. He's going to have to get the car into the pits, serve the drive-through, and get back out. And he's going to be very far down the pack. And he's not going to have enough time to try and get anywhere near Barkhuizen again. So he has to be careful with what he's doing, or he might risk getting that warning and then getting a penalty. But actually, what we see now,
he's
setting a fastest
he's
lap.
Going for it.
He's looking at the inside of Barkhuizen. He's playing very, very on the line here, trying to make any form of overtake he can. He's trying to create that gap. He's trying to take it while he still can. 12 minutes left now. The clock is not going to stop for him. He's going to look for every potential to try and dive bomb Barkhuizen.
He's going left and right, hunting down. He is desperate for it. Yes, there is a prize if you get the win here with PokerBet. They do give you a prize, which is always what you want to go for. But, I mean, you're sitting there right with your championship. You got your championship rival with you. I mean, he's so close. He's within grip. You can grab the rear spoiler. But yet again, how far are you going to risk it? And for Bernard Barkhuizen, he is also tank slapping on the way out. He is not holding back. And I think he's also sitting with a very, very close track limit because he was also pushing. I mean, this is all or nothing for both drivers for the championship. Maximizing points. Remember, 50 points to go and score your way into it. A little bit further down though, 5th place as we do see Dean Nokia get a tank slapper on the exit. Ryan Barrington-Smith tried going for a bit of a pass, couldn't get it done. I know Ashley Wilson busy going and shouting out on that one because he is keeping an eye on Ryan Barrington-Smith, going saying, go buddy, go, you got to properly send it here, as Ryan and him both come from the same cloth in terms of Eleanor and Sarko, if I remember correctly. Dean Nokia, though, coming from consoles, making his name right into the top here, proving that he is a hybrid racing driver. He was he went and asked in the Discord, said, listen, I need a team to be in that's willing to take me under their wing, and I want to have a top team to go and show me the ropes. Hybrid Racing took him and said, right, show us what you can do. Take this time now and prove why we should go and be there. And Dean has done that, and now taking on Ryan Barrington-Smith, who, remember, has won the FIA All-Star program, which landed up, well, he won the South African version, and that landed up with getting some time in rallying. So that is where Ryan comes from. And now he's pushing on to a Gran Turismo champion that's represented South Africa. But back up to the sharp end of the field, Henry Mayer and Bernard Barkhuizen. Final 9 minutes as they push their way through. It is going to be a super, super close run between the two of them all the way through, down towards the line.
Absolutely. These guys are really not going to let up. Like we mentioned, we've got under 10 minutes left now. And we were already seeing from the last time we saw these guys on track, the time ticks very fast here. It's almost like we're on a 2-time server over here. That's what it feels like for these guys. You know, they're just worrying about their rear view mirrors and how close they can stick their bumper up in front of that car. Henry Mayer going a little bit wide again, getting stuck on that wet curb. But I mean, man, these guys are pushing it to the absolute limits here. Just under 9 minutes left. I mean, look at that. We were at 10 minutes. We're already below 9 minutes.
Reginald
Muttaleni. That is so unfortunate. Getting a drive through penalty. Another victim claimed by the track limits. And man, that is so unfortunate. We do not want to see any other person get that drive through. We've got 8 minutes and 40 seconds left. If that happens now, your chances of any form of position you were chasing are completely over. So you need to keep that car consistent, keep it on track, but still try and fight, especially for the likes here of Bernard Barkhuizen and Henry Meyer, who are not going to let it go up until they see that checkered flag being waved by Jeff at the pit box.
Now this is going to be wild, right to the line for a lot of these drivers. We've got so many fights happening out on track. I mean, you've got likes of Johan Kleinards, Dean Nokia immediately onto the back of him, Ryan Barrington-Smith onto the back of him, Jean Leroux dealing with Daniel de Villiers, Chris going and dealing with Reginald Mutaleni, who's just pulled into the pits. That's going to free up Werner Skuma, and Ruan van der Walt trying to chase him down. He is broken, but still going. Bradley Surley's teammate all over the back of him is going to be trying to challenge for him. Jaco Krobler, I've got to say, oh, Saki goes bossy, going and having a bit of fun out there with Tianas Puerta all over the back of him. And Jaco Krobler, part of Team Heap Together, going and having a bit of fun out there against Tianas Puerta, a good friend of his, as they fight each other through. And we do see the 5. Oh, that's Hansi Myberg into the weeds. Hansi is into the weeds. That is not going to help the case, and yellow flags will be kicking up. So a lot of the drivers will be playing a bit of guesswork on where he is and how this is all going. Reginald Mutaleni coming out of the pit, so he's going to be able to rejoin the race a little bit further down than he planned, as he will get right behind Mac van der Merwe. But there is wild stuff happening, and there is Hansi Myberg limping a very broken BM back to the pits after a terrible, terrible crash. You can see just not having a fun time out there, and this is getting really wild for the last 6 minutes, and it is going to be a closing run to the end.
Absolutely, and you gonna speak about this now? Do you want me to go ahead with?
No, you keep going.
Awesome. Just making sure. All right, so back on board still with Bernard Barkhuizen chasing down and trying to keep that gap still between Henry Meyer. Still the fastest lap of the race. Henry Meyer following behind Bernard Barkhuizen, and we're looking at 6 minutes left already, and that is not a lot of laps left. We're looking at about 1 minute 50s here. That is approximately 3 to 4 laps left here at the Hungaroring, so really not a lot of time to try and make up. So Henry Meyer is going to really have to try and do something if he wants any form of opportunity to fight against Bernard Barkhuizen in front. Daniel Rowe behind. Very, very big gap between the top 2 runners so far, so these guys have completely run away with the race. It also just shows their absolute amount of skill. These two obviously the main rivals for, in fact, both the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series and the GT3 Championship for Season 12 of the Sprint and Season 19 of the Champion. That's a car on the road!
That is Jaco, who's landed up right smack bang in front of Bernard Barkhuizen, and I'm sure that is how you suddenly get a fright of note. Let's go back 30 seconds and look on board to try and see what he saw there. This is from the helmet cam, so just driving nicely, trying to bring it all back, and suddenly we will go around the corner just to see Jaco Krobler on the racing line, moving slightly off it. Oh man, that is how you change your shorts in 3 seconds flat.
Man, and that kind of situation can sometimes be so hard to judge. Thankfully, Bernard Barkhuizen keeping left and trusting that Jaco Krobler will move over to the right off the racing line. But in some situations, if that driver who has spun hasn't recovered in time, they won't be able to move. And if Bernard Barkhuizen didn't think about that, that could have potentially been a massive accident and giving Henry Meyer the full rights to the podium position. So thankfully everything went well there. A little bit of a jump scare there from the combox as well. I think some papers flew inside over here. Steven screaming over here in the combox.
I can guarantee there is a lot as we see Dean Nokia go off, and that has Ryan Barrington-Smith, and all of a sudden now we have got, that looks to be Fleming, who's trying to make his way past. He just got lapped and now has to let the 2 cars that went all over the show with one another. Jean Leroux going and battling out with De Villiers immediately coming onto the back of him as they trying to cut their way through a back marker as fast as possible. So it is turning lively in the last 3 minutes of the race. I don't know whether the tires have just gotten far too hot and they're now trying to push through it, or whether the track has gotten too damp and their tire pressures are completely wrong. But I see Henry Mayer has backed out of the fight now. I think he has just given up the fight for first place. He's going to focus on trying to get it to the end instead of charging after Bernard Barkhuizen after a monumental charge to the sharp end of the field. But races up and down as our track becoming more and more lively out here.
Man, that was quite a hectic one there for Dean Nokia. You know, getting spun around on turn 1, and with Ryan Barrington-Smith now following very close behind him. So that's also going to be another fight down to the line. We've got 3 minutes left here, and I don't know if the on-screen telemetry is correct. It looks like there's about a 1 second gap between the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen and Henry Mayer. If we flash up to them, we'll be able to see what that gap is looking like, and it indeed has grown. Bernard Barkhuizen has definitely pulled some form of a gap from Henry Mayer, and he is actually starting to pull away in these final couple of dire moments in this race. So Henry Mayer, I don't know if he's going to be able to pull this off. You know, he's got a little bit of a gap now. You can see he's still pushing that McLaren to the absolute edge of the track limits allowed here by the Hungarian stewards, and he's not letting it go. So now he's starting to pull a little bit closer. You see the flames spitting out the back of that McLaren. It is pushing to its heart's content, and Henry Mayer is not going to leave this one alone. He's going to push this now for the final 2 minutes and 20 seconds now of this race. It looks like the rain has dropped off a little bit, and now we're just running with a little bit of a wet circuit and wet curbs, but that dry line is definitely visible now. Drivers are going to be abusing it to try and keep that speed up, and man, this is going to be absolutely incredible, Steven. Do you think we're going to see some form of head-to-head down to the finish line, or do you think we're going to see an overall winner?
I think we're going to see head-to-head right the way through, because Tianis Buerta is about to get a whole lot of McLaren left, right, and center. Yes, you're driving the McLaren, it's absolutely great, but the last thing you want to see is these two brawling brutes coming right behind you. Also in the McLarens trying to take up that same piece of tar that you're on. Thankfully, it looks like they're going to get him on the straight. He's going to have to really push hard to try and break away. But if they get him towards turn 1, this may land up in a very nightmare situation. It's Henry Mayer! Henry Mayer's in the wall! Henry Mayer hit the wall!
What on earth just happened?
Well, what's happened, Daniel Rowe is coming, but Henry Mayer just went into the wall.
That is so unfortunate. So Henry Mayer, let's have a look at that replay, losing the rear end of the McLaren with just under 2 minutes left. Let's see him now coming onto the back straight. Did he let too much of that wheel touch the curb? He's on the curb now, and yeah, just allowing too much of that car over the curb and unfortunately losing the rear end. That is so unfortunate, Steven. I was not thinking something like that would happen. We have 40 seconds left of this Grand Prix, and Bernard Barkhuizen has run away with this so easily now. Henry Mayer is 10 seconds behind him.
He's battling. This car doesn't want to turn. Take a look at how much of that steering angle he's actually putting in to just try and get it to work with him. But that has allowed Daniel Rowe to close up the gap. Don't count Daniel Rowe out, as there's still a couple of corners to go through, but Bernard Barkhuizen going to be smiling on this one as he makes his way around. He can actually slow up now to take the win. To just cross the line. There we go. He would come across the line as the winner, and there's a stunning shot. We've got to give it all, and a bit of a blank slate. There we go. Nice photographic moment for the ominous KSR driver going and taking that top spot, first place, after defying it all, with Henry Mayer going and coming in and unfortunately having that knock threw him down the order. So Bernard Barkhuizen will take the top spot. Henry Mayer taking second place with a broken car, and I'm sure not going to be a happy camper with that one. 3 seconds behind Daniel Rowe, making up a lot of time. Chris Stolz in 4th. Johan Kleinans will be coming around in 5th place, but 6th and 7th is still alive and well as Dean Nokia and Ryan Barrington-Smith taking it down to the wire. 1 corner to go when they get on the gas. Ryan's going to have to go for a deep send if he wants to get this to work. No, he's not able to get it, and it does look like Dean Nokia will get the pass done and dusted on the way through as they come across the line. Jean Leroux finishes up in 8th. 9th is Daniel de Villiers. Bego Grobler in 10th. 11th is Chris Cullison. Let's see, he's still got Werner Skuman all over the back of him, trying to push as hard as he can. And Werner Skuman, unfortunately, not close enough to capitalize on going for that spot. Ruben van der Walt ahead of Bradley Surley. Oddly enough, take a look. Ruben van der Walt with a severely damaged BMW keeps ahead of his teammate Bradley Surley, who could have taken the pass, and I think he's going to play the team game here of, listen, you're ahead in the points, you're going to score as much as you can here, I'll follow behind, and Mac van der Merwe into Fourie. Fourie gets it all going, but Mac van der Merwe was into the wall. Reginald Montaleni comes by, and so does the lights of the Audi. Mac went for the send and just couldn't get it. What on earth?
What is this Grand Prix, man? Final bomb sends up the inside and not looking good, unfortunately. Let's look at him here. Very, very squirmy as well, just diving in, and unfortunately the BMW not seeing him and sending him into the pit wall even. That is so unfortunate for Mac van der Merwe. That has ruined his chances of finishing up in the top 15, unfortunately.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, let's go to a quick break. We'll be back with all the action. Oh, wow. What a run there, and what a run at Hungaroring. It was wet, it was slidey, it was crazy, it was wild. And honestly, I've got to say, I'm super, super impressed with the drivers, but nowhere in my wildest imagination would I ever pictured what we saw happening out of track in the last moments of the race.
No, me too. That was absolutely phenomenal. We're busy thinking that Bernard Barkhuizen and Henry Mayer are going to have a head-to-head down onto the line. And next thing we see Bernard Barkhuizen crossing the line all by himself with a 10-second gap to the driver behind. So super unfortunate scenes for some of these drivers. Henry Mayer losing out any chance to score that maximum championship points here tonight. And a couple of other drivers, Mac van der Merwe, binning it into the pit wall after trying to make a risky dive bomb. So everyone putting everything on the line, Stephen.
I mean, Mac van der Merwe, final corner, final lap, stick it in the wall. Never going to live that one down. That's for certain. That, unfortunately, is definitely a problem. But we have got our top three coming into the box, and we're going to have a chat with them because, wow, oh, wow, we need to talk about this.
100%. So let us go ahead to our pit box. We're going to bring in our third place, Daniel Rowe, coming in third, and we're going to hand it over to Steven.
Well, Daniel Rowe, welcome, and what a race out there. Take us through it. It was just crazy, start to finish. You had to try and work out what you're going to do. How's this all going to work out? What's the plans? I mean, take us through this.
Yeah, that was a tricky one. It's one of those races where it's hit and miss with the pressures. So if you got it right, you would have had a good race, but if you got it wrong, you would have struggled a little bit. And unfortunately, I got it wrong a bit. I'm not sure about the guys in front. Maybe they had slightly better pressures than I did or whatever. But yeah, congrats to them. I couldn't hang on after it got too wet, so that told me that my pressures were just dropping too low. And yeah, I had a nice little battle with Stoles, trading lap time, and then in the last two laps, suddenly I just dropped off and he was coming, so thankful that it happened right at the end and came through in third. It was a tricky race.
That was a wild one, and I gotta say, third place, good points, great. The start was a bit of a tricky one. Take us through that, because it seemed like it was all or nothing at one point.
Yeah, I think I got a really good start of the line. Or the front three, or us three at the front, got a very good start. The others were hanging back a bit, but I noticed they were going side by side through turn 1, so I was just trying to stay close enough in case there was a gap, and Henry had a bit of a tank slap on the exit of 1, so I got up next to him. And then we were obviously side by side through turn 2, and I was on the poorer line into turn 2, so obviously he had a little bit more grip, a little bit better exit speed, and we kind of fell back into place. So it was nice hard racing. Just a pity we didn't have enough to take the fight to them today.
Still impressive stuff. Tristan, anything from your side you'd like to say to Daniel Rowe?
Oh, I don't think I have anything specific, but I mean, I think from all the drivers on grid, you guys did absolutely phenomenal. We had that rain that came down and caused obviously the unexpected changes in the strategies, and like you mentioned, having to choose the right pressures and stuff. So all I can say is well done on achieving that podium position. Phenomenal stuff from you. You haven't had that podium stuff in the past couple of races, so great to see you up here. We expect to see you more. We've seen you in a couple of the past seasons, and we hope that you can continue it through the rest of the championships.
Yeah, thanks. I haven't had the best of luck this season in the GT3 league, so yeah, it's starting back in the sprint series is nice practice for tomorrow, so I'll try and fine-tune things, and hopefully we can have a good one tomorrow. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Well, Daniel Rowe of Hybrid Racing, the floor is yours. You hold 3rd place. And anything you would like to say to our sponsors, title sponsor PokerBet, who's got some amazing competitions going on. Ondorf Machinery Mart, SA Lube, Red Star Raceway, Scallywags, Drift Academy. I mean, floor's yours.
Yeah, thanks to the sponsors that are on board this season. It was quite a big surprise when we heard, so it's awesome that these guys are willing to come and support something that we love and we see as a sport, and a lot of people here take it very seriously, and it's just awesome to see that it's growing, and the league's getting very competitive, tight racing, it's very fast. So yeah, thanks to the sponsors on board. PokerBet is the big one, and obviously thanks to Practice and you guys and Nancy, everyone behind the scenes. It's a nice season, and hopefully it goes well to the end.
Absolutely awesome stuff. Well, always an honor to chat to you, Daniel, and look forward to chatting to you again tomorrow night and also next week.
Yeah, thanks. Enjoy, guys.
Well, that was exciting stuff and a bit of news from Daniel Rowe. But we got to move on to our 2nd place, who's also put in a huge amount of effort. Tristan, over to you.
Well, we're going to bring in the likes of Henry Mayer, who has managed to take 2nd place in this race. Henry, how are you feeling after that race? You had a unfortunate little bit of an incident at the final moments of the race. How are you feeling, man?
I'm sweaty at this point. That was a race. Barkhuizen pushed me to the limit there, and at the end I guess it showed a bit.
Yeah, definitely. We saw a couple of drivers in grid unfortunately losing that rear end, and it's just so unfortunate. It's the rain that really does bring that factor. But how were you managing throughout most of the race with control of your car?
I guess sometimes pure luck, and then sometimes I guess skill kicked in a bit. But yeah, that was tricky conditions on the dry tires. Figuring out what pressures to go for at the beginning, that was a good one. It was a good curveball right there at the beginning.
Yeah, 100%. Drivers have to be on their feet, try and think about what to do. But like we mentioned, unfortunately, losing out a bit. What can you walk us through? Obviously, you mentioned you got put a lot of pressure by the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen trying to catch him. But was that what else was the causes of that McLaren losing the rear end on the final corner?
I think it's just curbs being slippery at the end and me going full throttle when I shouldn't have. But it was still good race. It's just trying to get the straight line speed, I guess, because that's the only place you can overtake. So yeah, that I guess it's it.
Well, Henry Mayer, I'm going to leave the floor to you to address our sponsors, address the virtual grandstand. You can talk about anything you want and have a go for it, man.
Massive thanks to PokerBet's all the sponsors, RaceFace, you guys in the commentary box, and congrats to Barkhuizen for a great race, and all the viewers for watching us have fun.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Stephen, anything you want to say to Henry before we send him off to celebrate? Still having an unfortunate incident at the end, but still taking home second.
So I just want to say a well done, awesome work on that, and honestly, just fantastic to see you going in and duking it out, not having that runaway like we all come to know, but it does liven up the championship towards the end. Tomorrow night is the big one. Other than tonight, 100,000 Rand prize pool for our sprint series, but 150,000 Rand prize pool for tomorrow night's GT3 championship. With the conditions as they stand at the moment, are you a bit worried? Because I know we spoke about it, of possibly having a problem for the grid catching up. And now it's getting a little bit closer. The halfway mark seems to not be your favorite situation right now.
No, I'm still chilled at this point. Like, there's 3 races after this one left, so I'm still keeping it cool at this point. Some of my good tracks is coming up, so it might be fun, but I know Barkhuizen would be pushing, and we are making it exciting. I think it's better having a couple of drivers fight for it than one running away with it.
I love to hear it. Love to hear it. Well done, Henry Mayer, and congratulations to you on the run.
Thank you.
With that being said, there's only one person who can interview our next driver, and only one person I think is rightfully to interview our next driver. Over to you, Tristan, for our first place for the OG and KSR, Bernard Barkhuizen.
Well, Bernard, once again, sitting on the first place position here at the rainy Hungaroring. We've seen it happen in the past 2 races as well. How are you feeling after that result, man?
Good. Yeah, back to winning ways, it seems. Everything is working well. PC's working well. The rig is working well, and it was just a tricky one. I didn't know what was going on, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think lots of drivers are a little bit clueless, but absolutely phenomenal race from you. You seem to have run away very easily at the final couple of seconds, couple of minutes of that lap. What was going on through your mind when you saw the rearview mirror, that Martian Racing McLaren spinning around?
Yeah, no, that's very unfortunate for Mr. Mayer. It was very close until that point, but it was such a sign of relief when I saw that. He must be gutted about that. But that managed to get P1 from there, so good for me.
And how are you managing with the constant change of pressures and the constant change of feeling through with the McLaren and any other car on the grid on this rainy day?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, this one is tricky. I mean, I think if you're running ACC Drive and apps like that, I mean, you know a bit more about weather. But it was no man's land. You couldn't really say. So I just took a gamble on pressures and just there's nothing really you can do after that. So but by the end of the race, the pressures were looking pretty good. So yeah, not bad.
Absolutely. Well, you are slowly starting to develop a nice little lead in the championship here for the OGKSR team. You are doing phenomenally well. I'm going to give you the floor to address anything that you want to, and you may go for it.
Just like to say thanks everyone for watching. Hope it's very entertaining, at least. And thanks to you two in the commentary box for, making it more exciting. So yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. And I'm going to hand it over to Stephen. Stephen, you have anything you want to say to the winner of the race here at Hungaroring, Mr. Bernard Barkhuizen, before he goes off to celebrate?
Well, I'm going to switch it up a little bit and say, are you excited for the next race? It's coming up next week for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Championship, hopefully away from the rain next week. We always talk about tomorrow night, but let's talk about what next week is going to feel like now that you're staring at more and more wins. I mean, You've taken home the PokerBet prize money, or the PokerBet prize for winning 2 rounds in a row straight. Is there looking for a third?
Well, I'm going to try and win everything, I think I need to stand a chance to actually try and take the championship, but I think I didn't start the first 2 races, so Henry will probably take it. But it's just about focusing on the next ones and see if I can win them as always, and onwards and upwards.
That's it. That is it. Well done, Bernard Parkes, and go and have a bit of fun with the Ominous Gaming team and the KSR team for all the hard work that you've put in, and well done once again for getting that top spot.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely incredible stuff. Tristan, wow, oh wow. Life has been exciting, has it not?
Absolutely, man. This race was... Wow, it was definitely one for the books. Definitely a race that has been completely different of the tables, of the rest of the season, of the calendar and stuff that we've seen so far up until this point. Round 5 has been absolutely phenomenal here at Hungaroring, and it's all thanks to that little mischievous rain. It's been completely different. We've seen, you heard it, those top 3 interviewers coming in saying it was an absolute blind one. They were going into it with random pressures, hoping for the best because they did not know what to expect.
I think that's the way it should be. That's what makes it so exciting, and that's what we are looking forward to. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And remember to go and take a look at PokerBet down in the description. So much is going on. And we're heading on to the tail end of the PokerBet Premier Predictor competition. Punters simply need to place any bet on any soccer market before the end of August, and they will receive a form to place their predictions of the final EPL and PSL standings. Should they correctly predict the final standings in either league, they will win their share of 3 million Rand prize pool that is up for grabs. So keep an eye on that. Lots going on. Tomorrow night, we have got the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Championship. That is getting alive, getting well, excited for that one. And we have done the grading for the RaceFace.Pro iRacing GT3 championship. That's going to be restarting. That will be season 2. So keep an eye out on the social media for that. Plus, we're moving on with one of my favorites. We're going to IndyCar as well, as they have been doing a bit of grading on that. So, it's going to be some exciting times. Open wheels, closed wheels, GT3s, all the racing action right here at RaceFace.Pro. But Tristan, once again, shout out to you for the amazing graphics that have been put on air. And, we've got to also say a monster thank you to our sponsors and everyone out there in the virtual grandstands, giving us all the exciting times, cheering on the drivers, and just making the whole entire evening better and better.
Absolutely, man. The virtual grandstand has been such a prop to flex. We've had such an amazing virtual grandstand, so many family members and team members coming in to support everyone, and it just gives that little bit of boost for the bonus of motivation to some of these drivers. Some of them being able to potentially listen to their family members cheering them on in the background. It's a beautiful thing to see. We're seeing collaboration in the sport, Stephen, and that's exactly what we like to see here at RaceFace on the GT3 series of everything. So absolutely amazing stuff, and we've still got 3 rounds left of this, which is absolutely amazing.
It's going to be wild. So join us tomorrow night, 8:10 for the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Championship Round 6, right here at Hungaroring. But like always, from the THC booth, Tristan, anything you would like to say in closing?
Absolutely. So we've had an absolutely amazing race. There's not much to say from it. Apart from that, it's been the most eventful race, and we are so looking forward to the rest of the race. But once again, none of this would be able to be if it was not for any of our sponsors. So massive thanks again to PokerBet and the other sponsors that are also sponsoring this: Red Star Raceway, Ardendorf Machinery and Rod, SA Lube, Scallywags Scallywags Drift Academy. So absolutely incredible stuff from all of them. Make sure to go follow all the sponsors on their social media accounts. Follow RaceFace.Pro on Facebook and YouTube. And Steven's going to send us off for the one and only send-off sound.
The one that drives you insane. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we will see you next time. And like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody. Tristan, you better learn that.
What?
Right, with 5 rounds out of the way and so much excitement coming in. The championship's only heating up. We've got round 6 coming up next week, so you want to keep your eyes firmly fixed to your screens as we head over to Misano. Then we head over to Kyalami for round 7, the final round around the Nürburgring. With the championship starting to wrap up, it is going to be fundamentally so awesome here at RaceFace.Pro. With all the amazing racing that comes to you weekly, we have to give acknowledgement to our sponsors. Without them, this would not be possible here at RaceFace.Pro. So starting off with our first sponsor, let's go and take your hats off to PokerBet. For all the tournaments, for all the cash games, daily free rolls, and sports betting, there's no better place to be and win with PokerBet. With it all revved up and you're looking for high speed, whether you're into drag, drift, or even long circuit, Red Star Raceway has got you covered. As we take a look off to all our machinery needs, head over to Oddendorf Machinery Mart. Remember to keep it slick with SA Lube, 20 years of Castrol distribution. Sliding in to keep you on your toes, Scallywags Drift Academy will keep you right at the top of the pack. And if you're looking for all your streaming needs, head over to Tenvo Tech for all the overlays. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been an honor having you. We'll see you next time right here from the THT Productions.